was not what you called a kind man. I was certainly not what you called a good man. They were something I aspired to, but I was a man. There was, however, a point in my life where I was little more than a beast. 19 years in chains, under the lash and in the workyards and on the docks. A beast, a burden. And when I was released, I was like a rabid animal, devoid of all feeling but anger and distaste for my fellow men. It was the evening of the 7th of October, 1815, just an hour before sunset, when I walked into the small town of Dean. My cap, with the help of my twisted beard partially concealing my shaped head and face, burned and tanned by the sun and wind. My coarse yellow tunic and blue trousers worn and threadbare and covered in the dust of the road. I held a knapsack over my shoulder. I went to the town hall, followed by a member of the gendarmerie. No one here knows me. The women pause and stare. The men ignore, only occasionally casting glares in my direction. Children follow me. I stop in the square for a drink at the fountain.
Go! Go away, children! Get out of here!
I approached an inn at the far end of the promenade. I was turned away. I came to another, and another. Both times I was turned away. A fourth.
What do you want?
Food and lodging.
Nothing easier, provided you can pay.
I have money.
In that case, sir, won't you please come in?
I placed my knapsack on the ground by the door and sat on a low stool close to the fire. I waited, listening to the whispered conversations of the patrons, feeling their gazes fixed on me. At last, the landlord approached. Will dinner be ready soon?
I cannot receive you, sir.
Are you afraid I won't pay? You saw my purse. I can pay in advance if that is what you wish.
It's not that.
What then? You have no rooms? I can sleep in the stable or in a loft on a truss of straw. What then?
Go away.
No! By this time, silence had fallen over the inn.
Do I need to tell you your name? I was suspicious of you the moment I saw you in the firelight. I sent to the town hall, and they sent a message telling me everything. Now, as an innkeeper, it is my duty to be polite to everybody, no matter their station. But I have limits and a reputation. Now go, before I call for the corporal.
Stone-faced, lips pursed, I dropped my head, picked up my knapsack from where I'd left it, and I left. Everywhere I went was closed to me. Every hostelry, every public house. I even went to the prison. Monsieur Turnkey, please, let me in and give me lodging for the night.
This is not an inn. It's a prison. Get yourself arrested. Then you may come in.
I even tried a doghouse. I settled on a stone bench across the way from the church.
What are you doing there?
Go away.
But what are you doing there?
As you can see, I'm sleeping. Or I would be, if you left me alone.
On this bench?
Yesterday I had a mattress of wood. Today it's stone.
Are you a soldier?
Yes,
Why not go to an inn?
I have no money.
Have you knocked at every door?
Yes,
Every door. Have you knocked at that one?
no.
Knock there.
I watched as the old woman tottered away through the storm, pulling her shawl close around her. Why were her suspicions not aroused by the fact that somebody was sleeping on a stone bench in the rain? Surely she would have known a decent person would lodge someone in this foul weather. After a moment, I grabbed my bundle again and walked to the house she pointed out to me. A small hole in the shadow of the great church. Come in. I quickly pushed the door open and stepped inside. I was faced with the sight of 3 people sitting at a table. 2 were women, both in their 60s. One was small and plump, while the other was tall and slender. The third was an old man in his 70s. The 2 women stared. The fatter of the 2 showed fear in her eyes and trembled. The old man, however, was strangely different. He was staring at me, but not with disdain, fear, or surprise. He seemed to be taking me in. And the strangest part of all, he was smiling at me. Listen! My name is Jean Valjean. I'm a convict from the galleys, spent 19 years. I was released 4 days ago, and I'm on my way to report to police headquarters in Pontarlier. I have been walking these last 4 days since my release from Toulon. I have traveled a dozen leagues today. I went to the inn and they turned me out all because of this. My yellow passport, which I have to show at the town hall. I went to another and they turned me away. Everywhere they refused me and turned me out of doors, even the prison. I was prepared to sleep outside in the rain when an old woman told me to knock here. What is this place? Is it an inn? I have money. My savings. 109 francs and 15 sous, which I earned in the galleys. I will pay. Will you let me stay?
Madame Magloire, you were set another place, please.
The shorter of the 2 women nodded once and left to do as she'd been bid. I didn't understand. Stop! Didn't you hear? I'm a galley slave. A convict. Yellow. Jean Valjean. Discharged convict. Has been 19 years in the galleys. 5 years for housebreaking and burglary. 14 years for having attempted to escape on 4 occasions. He's a very dangerous man. You hear that? A dangerous man.
Madame Magloire, you will put white sheets on the bed in the alcove. Sit down, sir, and warm yourself. We were about to eat our dinner, my sister and our housekeeper and myself. You are more than welcome to join us. It at last dawned on me. I was not being turned away. You call me sir. You offer me dinner. You offer me a bed. You are kind, monsieur. Please,
Tell me your name, Monsieur Innkeeper. What is your name?
I am not an innkeeper, my friend. I am a simple priest who lives in the shadow of God.
Priest? Oh, yes, your cap. Then, Monsieur Curé, you will not wish me to pay you.
No, my son. No. Keep your money. After all, this is not my house. This is God's. You suffer. You hunger and thirst. You are welcome. Everything here is yours. And there was no need to tell me who you are. I knew already.
You knew?
Yes. You are my brother. I call you my brother, for we are all brothers through Christ and salvation in his sacrifice. I sat in stupefaction as the housekeeper laid the table with soup, bread, salt, oil, a bit of bacon and mutton, figs, cheese, and a bottle of wine. As she made to take her place at the table again, Madame Magloire, we seem to be missing something. The silver, madame. The silver. Pardon me, monsieur, but I feel I must show you everything of worth in the house. The old woman left the room and presently returned with 6 sets of silver and 2 candlesticks. We ate. I ate voraciously like a starving animal as the old man talked. Words I didn't understand or care to listen to. I was too hungry. And when the food was gone, not even a scrap or crumb worthy of a rat, the old man gestured for me to follow him and his sister, while the housekeeper cleaned the table. Montagnier is a long walk, Jean. Tonight you shall sleep here in the alcove next to my room. And in the morning you shall have some milk from our very own cow. Still warm, perhaps with some cinnamon and a little bit of sugar. You keep me so close to you. How do you know I haven't murdered someone? What's to prevent me from killing you in your own bed and making off with everything you own? That I will leave up to God. The priest said a prayer over me and left me to myself. Minutes later, all were asleep, except for myself. I lay there thinking about what brought me there, in the position of an ex-convict. The theft of a loaf of bread. A loaf to feed the 7 starving children of my widowed sister. A cold winter night. Nothing in the house but the cries of the children with no bread and not even a drop of milk. I left. Less than an hour later, I was dragged into prison with an arm that was bleeding from the breaking of the boulangerie window. 2 days later, I stood before the tribunal and was pronounced guilty. On arrival at Toulon, I was chained at the ankles and at the neck with an iron collar. Gone was the name Jean Valjean. I was number 24601. I still do not know what became of my sister and her family. I am ashamed to say that upon my release, I no longer cared. I put myself on trial. I am not an innocent man unjustly punished. I did do a reprehensible act. Had I asked, the bread might have been given to me. But can one wait when one is hungry? And am I the only one at fault? A laborer, out of work, an industrious man. Is it right that I should have lacked food? Was the crime deserving of such a heavy sentence? Didn't the heaviness of the sentence overturn the weight of the crime? Replace the fault of the delinquent, convert the guilty man into the victim, and the debtor into the creditor. My crime is committed every day. 19 years. Damn society. Damn society and damn mankind! What's this?
I was held roughly between two gendarmes. The brigadier stepped forward with my knapsack. He addressed the priest as Monseigneur.
Monseigneur? Then he's not the cure?
That earned me a blow to the face.
Gentlemen, please.
Ah, Jean, I am glad to see you. When I had seen that you had taken the silver but had left the candlesticks, I was surprised. They would most certainly get you 200 francs alone. Why did you not take them? I stood there, shamefaced.
What?
Gentlemen, I suppose he told you that a kind old priest gave him shelter for the night, and that the priest made a gift of that silver in his sack there. Well, so I did. You may release him. Go on. Release him. I am to be set free. I'm not going back to prison? No, my son. You are not going back to prison. But here, before you go, take these candlesticks. Take them. He held out the 2 candlesticks to me, and with trembling hands I took them. This entire time I remained on the floor, with the bishop looking down at me kindly, and his sister and housekeeper looking on. Now, go in peace. But when you return, my friend, it is not necessary to pass through the garden. You may always enter and depart through the street door. It is never fastened with anything but a latch, by day or by night. And do not forget, never forget, that you have promised to use this money to become an honest man. I promised? Jean Valjean, my brother, you no longer belong to evil, but to good. It is your soul, the greatest of all known treasures that I buy from you. I withdraw it from black thoughts and the spirit of perdition, and I give it to God. I left the town as though I was fleeing from it, just as I had when I had stolen the plates and forks and knives. I set out through the fields, taking whatever roads and paths presented themselves to me. I wandered this way all morning until I was possibly 3 leagues from Dean, coming to a path which intersected the plain. I sat down on a rock, too stunned and too stupid to do anything but sit there and reflect on what had happened.
Monsieur, my coin, my 40-sou piece.
I looked up and saw a young Savoyard, a boy of 10 with a hurdy-gurdy on his back, standing before me. I dropped my head again.
Go away.
But my money, monsieur, my money. You wouldn't take a coin from Petit Chevet, would you?
I said go away, boy. The boy grabbed me by the shirt and did his best to shake me, kicking my leg, drumming his fist into my shoulder and my chest. He cried all the while about his money, demanding I give it back. At last, I looked at him and shoved him to the ground.
Get out of here!
Frightened, the boy took off, crying. Minutes later, I came to myself and stood, moving my foot. In doing so, I saw something gleam in the dust under the fading rays of the sun. Bending down, I picked it up and examined it. It was a small silver coin, a 40-sou piece. I then realized what I had done. Petit Chevet! Petit Chevet! I ran in the direction of the boy, but I could find no sign of him. The few people I met did not know of him. I continued running until the sun had gone and the moon was in the sky. Petit Chevet! Petit Chevet!
Petit Javert!
I must take you forward in time some 6 years. To the town of Montreuil-sur-Mer in the year 1821. The exact circumstances are not important, but I had settled there, and through hard work, I became a successful factory owner and eventually mayor. Once more, Jean Valjean did not exist. Monsieur Madeleine was my name, and nobody knew of my past. All the town loved me, with the exception of 2 men. A former businessman by the name of Fauchelevent, and our chief inspector of police, Javert. I will tell more of Fauchelevent in a moment, but first, the inspector. Javert would forever be found watching me closely like a dog. A man of lofty stature, wrapped in an iron-gray frock coat with a heavy cane. A battered hat covered the top of his head, which was itself framed by great sideburns. His arms folded, and with a shake of his head, his upper lip raised in a sneer, grimacing at me with a look that seemed to say, "What is that man? I have certainly seen him before. In any case, I am not his dupe." In the mountains, it is said that there is born into every litter of wolves a dog, which is promptly killed by the mother, lest as he grew he should devour the others. Give this dog son of a wolf a human face, and you would have Javert. He had been born in prison, son of a gypsy fortune teller and a convict who was in the galleys. He was raised by the law, and observed unpartingly that there were but 2 classes of people: those who attacked society and those that guarded it. Now Fauchelevent, a poor man who had once been an attorney and had now been reduced to a carter, full of hate and anger at the man he had witnessed rise from nothing while he felt nothing. One day, I had been crossing town from my office to the factory which I owned when I noticed a great crowd gathered across the way from the shop. Drawing near, I could see that it was a cart heavily laden partially on its side. The horse had broken 2 legs, and one of the wheels had come off, and beneath the cart, crushed beneath the axle, was old man Fauchelevent. Fauchelevent cried in pain, screamed for help. The men that attempted to help quickly stopped, as one wrong shake of the cart risked toppling everything and burying him beneath its load. "Is there a jack?" "One has been sent for, Monsieur le Maire." I had not realized that Javert was there. He had been trying to supervise the rescue attempts. "How long ago?" 10 minutes, but it will take a good quarter of an hour to get it here." "A quarter of an hour? It will be too late. Can't you see that the cart is sinking?" "Yes, but there's nothing to be done until the jack arrives." "Listen, there is still room enough under the cart to allow a man to crawl beneath it and raise it with his back. It would take half a minute and the poor man will be free. Is there any stout man willing to do it? 5 louis d'or. 10 louis. 20. It is not the will which is lacking, Monsieur le Maire. It is the strength. One would have to be a terrible man to be able to accomplish such a feat. And I have only known one, a convict in Toulon. A memory stirred. Yes, Javert had been at Toulon. He had been an adjunct prison guard there for a year. He gazed fixedly at me as my attention was called away from him by Fauchelevent's shrieks. The cart was now breaking his ribs. I looked at the crowd one last time and repeated the offer of 20 louis for their help. No one stepped forward. This cannot happen! I tore off my jacket and threw it to the ground. Falling to my knees, I crawled under the vehicle before anyone could stop me. There was so little room beneath it, and it was so heavy. I was flat on my stomach. Many people called for me to come out. Even old Fauchelevent strained to tell me to give up. But I shook my head and worked to bring my knees and elbows together. Suddenly, the enormous mass was seen to quiver. The cart rose slowly, ever so slowly. Someone gave a shout. Quick! Help him! Pull the man out! I watched through teary eyes as 20 men, roused by my courage, rallied and pulled the poor carter out. I rose. I was pale and dripping with perspiration. My clothes were torn and covered with mud. Many were weeping relieved tears. Fauchelevent was carried close, and he kissed my knee, calling me a gift from God. But then, as Fauchelevent was taken away to the hospital, I saw that Javert was still staring at me. Later that night, I visited the hospital and left a note for Fauchelevent saying that I had bought his horse and cart, and that, when he was recovered, I would pay to send him to a convent in Paris where the sisters had agreed to give him the position of a gardener. The following December, I was passing through the square when I saw Javert and 2 officers dragging a woman to police headquarters. My curiosity aroused, I interviewed several people and learned that the woman had been arrested for attacking a citizen, a well-known philanderer named Bamatabois. She was a prostitute, and the man had shoved snow down her dress, and she attacked him in retaliation. It was clear that no matter what she was, the townsman had been in the wrong. I hurried to the station and arrived in time to hear the woman talk about how she had been dismissed from my factory after it had been discovered that she had a daughter and no husband, that she had lodged a child with some innkeepers in Montfermeil, and that she owed them much money for the care of her child. I then heard Javert tell her, "I've heard you. And I tell you now that you will get 6 months. Not even the Eternal Father himself could change that." Wait! 1 moment! The men stood at attention, holding this sad woman up between them. She trembled with fear and illness. Her hair had been cut close to the skull, and she was missing her 2 front teeth. Javert rose from behind his chair, saluting awkwardly. "Monsieur le Maire, Inspector Javert, set this woman free." "I am sorry, monsieur, but I cannot. But I insist." "Nevertheless, I cannot release her. Sergeant, who said she could go?" "And why not?" This miserable jade insulted a citizen." "Javert, you are an honest man, and I feel no hesitation explaining matters to you. I was passing through the square. I saw you take her away. Now, after making inquiries and having learned the truth of the matter, I can tell you that it was the citizen who was in the wrong and should have been arrested." "This wretch has insulted your person." "That is my concern. It is for me to decide what it is to be done about my insult." "I beg your forgiveness, monsieur, but you are wrong. The insult was not to you, but to the law. Inspector of the highest law's conscience. I have heard her. I know what I am doing. Monsieur le Maire, I obey my duty, and my duty demands that she serve 6 months in prison." "She will not serve a single day." "Monsieur le Maire, the matter is connected with the municipal police, and under Articles 9, 11, 15, and 66 of the Criminal Code, I am the judge. Now I order that she be released." "Monsieur le Maire, not another word. Leave the room." Javert received the blow erect, full in the face, into his breast like a Russian soldier. He bowed to the very earth before me and left the room. The woman stood aside from the door and stared in amazement. "I believe you, but but I knew nothing about what you had mentioned. I was unaware that you had left my shop. Why didn't you come to me? I will pay your debts. I will send for your child, or you can go to her, whichever you wish. You can live here, in Paris, anywhere. You needn't work anymore. I will take care of everything. This proved too much for the woman. She stared stupidly at me and the officers left in the room, and she gave out a cry and then fainted. I had her sent to the hospital where it was discovered that she was suffering from tuberculosis. Fantine, but that was her name, was in a decline and called in a delirium every day for her daughter Cosette. The doctor encouraged me to fetch the child as quickly as I could. Unfortunately, my duties as mayor prevented me from going myself. So I had a letter sent with more than enough money to pay off Fantine's debt to this man, this Monsieur Thénardier, and asked that he bring the girl to Montreuil. However, greed would not let this man, giving 100 different reasons in his response why he could not let go of the child. I went to the hospital and found Fantine lucid. She dictated a letter for me to write. Monsieur Thénardier, you will deliver Cosette to the bearer. You will be paid for all the little things. I have the honor to salute you in respect, Fantine. Taking the letter, I left and resolved to fetch the child myself. But first, I had a minor issue to resolve in my office at the town's hall. Sitting there at my desk, finishing up my tasks, my assistant informed me that Inspector Javert was waiting in the hallway. This surprised me, as the inspector had avoided me ever since the incident at the police station. It must have been of some importance for him to come at that point. I had him admitted. Monsieur le Maire, a culpable act has been committed. An officer of the law has failed in respect and in the gravest manner towards a magistrate. I have come to bring awareness to this act, as it is my duty to do. And who is the officer? Myself. I see. And the magistrate who has reason to file a complaint? You, monsieur. Monsieur le Maire, I have come to request that you call for my dismissal. You will say that I might have handed in my resignation, but that does not suffice. Handing in one's resignation is honorable. I have failed in my duty. I ought to be punished. You were severe with me that night, and unjustly. Be so today, with justice. Come now. What nonsense is this? What have you done against me that could be so horrible? Yes, I ordered you out of the room and overturned your sentence, but I do not think that I denounced you to the prefecture of police in Paris. You denounced me? As a mayor who has encroached upon the police? As an ex-convict? I thought it was so since I first met you. I have had this feeling that I recognized you from somewhere, and with the feet of the cart, I took you for a certain Jean Valjean. What name did you say? Jean Valjean. He was a convict whom I was in the habit of seeing 20 years ago when I served as a guard at Toulon. I had seen him perform a similar act while he was imprisoned there. Upon his release, it appears that he robbed a bishop and violently stole from a small boy on the road. He disappeared. No one knows how, and he has been sought since then. Superficially, he resembled the man I remember, and I denounced you. And what reply did you receive? That I was mad. Well, they were right. You acknowledge this? I have no choice. The real Jean Valjean has been found. He has been found. He goes by another name, of course. Now he is known as Champmathieu. This Champmathieu was arrested last autumn for stealing a branch of apples. A simple crime in itself. but then he was recognized by a trustee, an ex-convict named Brevet.
I know this man. We served in Toulon together. He is Jean Valjean.
Well, the brute denies all of this, but two more have confirmed this along with myself. Having seen the man up close, and now, having seen the real Jean Valjean, I do not understand how I could have thought otherwise. I beg your pardon, Monsieur le Maire. What does this man say to these allegations? He denies it, but this doesn't matter. The stealing of apples, the robbing of a child, they are all misdemeanors to any normal man, but to a convict they are crimes and mean the galleys for life. The case is to be tried in Arras tomorrow, and I am to be witness. But first, I must settle the matter of my denouncing you and be dismissed. I stared at this man. This man who had almost sent me back to prison, and I realized the position I was in. I could be rid of him and never have to worry again. But something stopped me. Javert, I've told you once that you are a man of honor, and I stand by that judgment. You exaggerate your fault. I wish for you to retain your post. He gazed at me with his candid eyes, in whose depths his not very enlightened but pure and rigid conscience seemed visible. Monsieur, I cannot grant you that. So far as exaggeration is concerned, I am not exaggerating. I suspected you unjustly. Without proof and in a fit of rage, I denounced you as a convict. You, a mayor and a magistrate, the earthly epitome of law and order. If one of my subordinates had done what I had done, I would have expelled him immediately. I have often been severe in the course of my life towards others. That is just. I have done well. Now, if I were not severe towards myself, all the justice that I have done would become injustice. Should I spare myself more than others merely because I'm a member of the police? No! I do not desire you to treat me with kindness, but with firmness. Discharge me. I did not answer. Instead, looking at him and listening to this proud yet despairing declaration said with such conviction and grandeur, I shall continue in my post until my replacement has been named. Monsieur le Maire? I watched him leave thoughtfully, listening to his firm, sure step which died away on the pavement in the corridor. An hour later, I went to the hospital, where the doctor asked if I had Fantine's daughter. Soon was all I told him. I visited with Fantine for an hour and urged everybody not to allow her to want for anything before I left. The nursing sisters and the doctors were convinced I was going to fetch the child now. I ran to the inn and asked the innkeeper how soon a horse and cart could be procured. A horse that could travel 20 leagues in a day would be capable of traveling the same the following day. After paying a sum of 500 francs, I had my horse. I would be in Arras by morning should I leave in less than 2 hours. I told the innkeeper to have the horse and cab brought to my house by 11 o'clock and went home to prepare and rest. I woke an hour before this horse was to arrive. I was filled with terror. My sleep had been full of nightmares over what I was preparing to do. Well, what then? What am I afraid of? What is there in all that for me to think about? I am safe. All is over. I had but one partly open door through which my past might invade my life, and behold, that door is walled up forever. That Javert, who's been annoying me so long, that terrible instinct which seemed to have divined me, good God, and which followed me everywhere, that frightful hunting dog, always making a point at me, is thrown off the scent, engaged elsewhere, absolutely turned from the trail. Henceforth, he's satisfied. He will leave me in peace. He has his Jean Valjean. Who knows? It is even probable that he will wish to leave town. And all this has been brought about without any aid from me.
and I count for nothing in it.
But where is the misfortune in this? Upon my honor, people would think to see me that some catastrophe has happened to me. After all, if it does bring harm to someone, that is not my fault in the least. It is Providence which has done it all. It is because it wishes for it so to be, evidently. Have I the right to disarrange what has been arranged? What do I ask now? Why should I meddle? It does not concern me. What? I am not satisfied. But what more do I want? The goal in which I have aspired to for many years, the dream of my nights, the object of my prayers to heaven's security. I have now attained. It is God who wills it. I can do nothing against the will of God. And why does God will it? In order that I may continue what I have begun, that I may do good, that I may one day be a grand and encouraging example, that it may be said of at last that a little happiness has been attached to the penance which I have undergone, and to that virtue to which I have returned. Really, I do not understand why I was afraid a little while ago to enter the house of that good curé and to ask his advice. This is evidently what he would have said to me. It is settled. Let things take their course. Let the good God do as he likes. I ran from my bedchamber to my drawing room. On the mantel of the fireplace in front of a large mirror were the 2 candlesticks. I could never sell them. I could not. I couldn't. I stood there looking at the candlesticks. Can I really go to this man's trial and give myself up? Who'll take care of this town? What of all the good I have done? The jobs I have provided, the schools and hospitals I have built, Fantine and her child. What will become of all of them? They will all suffer. And for what? For this man to whom I owe nothing? A common thief, a poacher of apples, one who bears my face. If it is to be true that he bears my face, that can only be the will of God, that I may stay here, for only the Creator can craft a face. I will stay. I must stay. I ran to the wall and inserted a key into a hidden lock, opening a secret cabinet. Inside were the bundle of rags I had worn upon my release, the blue trousers, the yellow tunic, and my knapsack, and the cudgel in which I had carried it. Inside the knapsack was my passport. I took it out and read it over and over again. Dangerous man. The words "a very dangerous man" were all I could see. I threw the rags and cudgel and sack into the fire, but I still clutched the paper as I watched them burn. If I destroy this paper, Jean Valjean will be destroyed, gone, and nobody will ever see him again. Nobody. Jean Valjean, my brother. Monseigneur. Jean Valjean, would you do this? Would you allow an innocent man to spend the rest of his life in the galleys in your place? But Monseigneur, do not forget, never forget, that you have promised to use this money to become an honest man. I promised? Jean Valjean, my brother, you no longer belong to evil, but to good. It is your soul, the greatest of all known treasures, that I buy from you. I withdraw it from black thoughts and the spirit of perdition, and I give it to God. Monsieur le Maire, the horse is waiting. Are you still leaving? Monsieur, should I send the horse away? Oh, please answer, monsieur. Tell them I will be right down. I am coming.